What if I told you that the kind of medicine we have in America today, what's taught in schools, what's practiced in hospitals, wasn't just shaped by science? What if it was really shaped by a secret report, a powerful organization, and one man's hidden mission to destroy the very medicine his own boss believed in? Well, get ready, because this is the story of how one of the richest men in history was betrayed by his inner circle and how that betrayal changed American medicine forever.
This wasn't some casual comment. This was a core belief held by, at the time, the richest man in the world, John D. Rockefeller. And it wasn't just a belief for him. He put his life in the hands of homeopathic doctors for the last 50 years he was alive.
Which makes this number just absolutely shocking. We're talking about early 20th century money here. Rockefeller's own foundations poured over $500 million into conventional medical schools, the very schools that were trying to wipe homeopathy off the face of the earth.
So what gives? I mean, why would the biggest philanthropist in the world, a guy who was a devoted patient of homeopathy, fund the very system that was hell-bent on destroying it? Well, the answer is a wild story of power, big money, and some serious deception.
Okay, so to untangle all this, we have to start right at the center of the contradiction. John D. Rockefeller, the patient. Rockefeller's belief was no small thing. The man lived to be 97, and when he was on the verge of a complete breakdown from stress and overwork back in the 1890s, it was his homeopathic doctor, Hamilton Bigger, who pulled him back from the brink. And it wasn't just him either. His entire inner circle, all the powerful Standard Oil families, they all used homeopathic doctors. This was their medicine of choice.
So if Rockefeller was so committed, where did it all go so wrong? Well, the first clue points to the man he trusted to give all his money away, his top philanthropic advisor, a guy named Frederick T. Gates. You see, Rockefeller was famously hands-off with his charities. He hired Gates, who was a former Baptist minister, and basically gave him one instruction: handle it and don't bother me with the details. He handed Gates the keys to a financial empire, trusting him completely to carry out his vision.
And this right here is where the whole thing goes off the rails. On the one hand, you have Rockefeller's clear, explicit instructions from 1916. He wants homeopaths to get fair, courteous, and liberal treatment. But on the other hand, you have Gates's secret opinion. He privately thought the founder of homeopathy was a lunatic and was actively trying to eliminate it completely.
And let's be clear, this wasn't just a friendly disagreement. Biographer Ron Chernow flat out says that Gates's real goal was to use Rockefeller's own money to wage a secret war, to deliver a mortal blow to the very medicine his boss loved. But he knew he couldn't do it by himself.
So Gates found himself a very powerful ally in this fight, the American Medical Association, the AMA.
And the AMA's main weapon at the time was something called the consultation clause, and it was just brutal. Basically, if you were a conventional doctor and you even talked to a homeopath about a case, or, God forbid, referred a patient to one, you were kicked out of the AMA. And in some states, that meant you lost your license to practice medicine. It was that serious. There was even one doctor who got expelled for consulting with his own wife because she was a homeopath.
So why were they so aggressive? Was it about science? Patient safety? Nope. A top AMA official in 1903 just laid it all out there. He said, and I quote, "We have never fought the homeopath on matters of principles. We fought him because he came into the community and got the business." It was about money. Homeopathy was popular, especially with rich patients, and that made it a major financial threat.
Okay, so you've got Gates's secret plan and Rockefeller's money, teamed up with the AMA's financial worries. They just needed a weapon, something that looked scientific to legitimize their war. And that weapon was the 1910 Flexner report. Now, publicly, this story was very clean, very noble. The super prestigious Carnegie Foundation hires an educator, Abraham Flexner, to do an objective survey of America's medical schools. The goal? To improve standards for the public good. Sounds great, right?
But behind the scenes, a secret memo tells a very different story. This was sent from the head of the Carnegie Foundation to the AMA before the report was even published. It said, "We have been hand in glove with you. When our report comes out, it is going to be ammunition in your hands." This was not an objective study. It was a coordinated hit job, designed from day one to serve the AMA's agenda.
And here's the really wild part. The entire premise of the report, that these sectarian schools were inferior, was pretty questionable, especially if you look at the AMA's own data. In the years right before the report came out,
Their own journals showed that graduates from homeopathic schools actually had a significantly lower failure rate on medical board exams than graduates from conventional schools. But why let facts get in the way of a good narrative? Flexner's recommendations were just ruthless. He called for shutting down almost all medical colleges for women and for black students. And of course, the main event, eliminate all sectarian schools, with homeopathy right at the top of the list. The goal was to force one single standardized version of medicine on the entire country.
And the impact was immediate, and it was devastating. I mean, look at this. In 1900, there were 22 homeopathic medical colleges in the U.S. By 1923, just 2 decades later, only 2 were left. The report worked exactly like they planned.
So how did a report, even a totally biased one, have that much power? Let's connect the final dots. Because this is where Rockefeller's money becomes the final crucial ingredient, the kill shot. This is the masterstroke. This is the checkmate move. Frederick Gates, using Rockefeller's foundation, hired Abraham Flexner, the guy who wrote the report, to implement his own recommendations. He was literally given the power and the checkbook to enforce his own vision of medicine. And what a checkbook it was. Between 1910 and 1930, Rockefeller's foundation, run by Gates and Flexner, poured at least $180 million into conventional medical schools, but only the ones that agreed to adopt the new, Flexner-approved standards.
So how much of that massive fortune went to the homeopathic schools that Rockefeller personally used and championed? 0. A big, fat nothing. Not a single dollar. His own fortune was systematically used to reward the schools that complied with the plan and to starve out the schools that he, the benefactor, actually believed in. And the most audacious part of this entire story, they lied to his face about it. While they were actively burning the world of homeopathy to the ground, Rockefeller's own staff were telling him that things were getting better, that discriminations are being constantly lessened. They hid the entire revolution from the very man who was paying for it.
Which leaves us with this huge, critical question. This story, it's not just about some forgotten medical rivalry. It's a timeless story about how money, power, and secret agendas can literally shape what we call truth. It forces us all to ask, who gets to decide what is scientific and what gets left behind in the dust?